Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Wheel Troubadour. I'm out here, I have never been on this road before. I have no idea where I am. Just going for a little cruise. I thought I'd talk about, I think I know where I am. I thought I'd talk about, I've just passed a year on my Thruxton. I guess I've had it about 13 months now, maybe 14 months. So kind of a long-term review. And, I could mention a few things that I love about it, a few things that I wish were a little better. First, of course, I love the bike. This is the kind of bike that you would probably keep in your collection forever. It's not the kind of bike that, maybe you'd ride it for 2 years, I'm tired of it. I consider it to be a pretty special bike. It's not just kind of a disposable, hey, no offense to the Japanese bike owners, I've had mine, so I don't mean to be offensive, but hey, we all know, you're on a Gixxer for a couple of years, hey, it's time to trade it and get another one, right? You know how that goes. So yeah, I look at this as being a long-term bike. This is a bike that I personally am gonna have until I can't ride anymore, and then I'll probably still have it just to keep around. I'll put it in my living room just to look at it, because it's just that awesome of a bike. They put a lot of detail into the manufacturing of this bike. Lots of metal pieces, different alloys. It's just a really well made. Okay, you guys get the point, right? So, things I don't like about it. Well, my previous bike was a Gixxer. So I tend to use that as my benchmark, because the Gixxer does everything in the sport bike world. It just checks all the boxes. It's easy to ride. It's comfortable for a sport bike. Handles fantastic. Stops fantastic. It just does everything great. Well, this bike does all those things too, but it does it with a little bit more style, especially if you're into like the retro thing. I never drew a crowd on my Gixxer. This bike, I guarantee you, every time you stop for gas, you will have at least, I'm not exaggerating, there will be at least one person that comes up to talk to you about your bike. I've been in situations where I've had groups of people coming up asking me about it. It looks a lot like Ducati put out, I think it's a Pulse Smart edition, I think back in like 2003 or 2005, somewhere around in there, and it has that same retro fairing on it and everything. It looks very similar to this. I think a lot of people probably look at that and go, wow, is that one of those? Or maybe is it something older? Is that an original, 50s or 60s racer? I get that a lot. And I think most people that ride modern day Triumphs get asked that a lot. Is that, oh, is that a 65 or something? No, it's a 2017. And they're like, and their mouths fall open. They're like, what? So this bike has a lot of character. It's built well, it's engineered well, it rides great. It does have a few quirks though. It's a parallel twin, and the parallel twin is not as smooth as like your Japanese inline 4 or even like a Triumph triple. If you're used to those kind of engines, the parallel twin is going to be a little different for you. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite motor vloggers and reviewers, he actually put it in a way. He said, oh, it's a sport bike with a cruiser engine. I don't agree with that assessment. I think that's a little extreme, but I can kind of see where he's coming from, especially if you have it in road mode, not sport mode. So, you know, the Thruxton R has 3 different ride modes. Road, sport, and rain. So if you have it in sport mode and you take traction control off, this thing is every bit as aggressive as the Gixxer I'm just coming off of. You have it in road mode, you can do just what I'm doing now. You can putt around town like, you know, like any cruiser you've ever been on. Very comfortable, easy to ride in traffic settings. But the parallel twin does come with a few quirks. It doesn't like to be, definitely don't blip the throttle on this thing at a stop. They have a tendency to stall. You'll also get this weird, it has this anti-detonation thing, and it tries to move the cylinder around. I don't know the exact specific of it, but it's kind of quirky, and you'll get this weird clunk. And if you're not used to it, it can be really disconcerting. You're like, oh my god, is a rod going to come out my crankcase or something? It can be pretty weird. So there's that. So yeah, there's a little learning curve with the parallel twin. It sounds great. Look at that! Look at that! Woo, yeah, pulls hard. So that's another thing. It does tend to run out of steam. This isn't an inline 4 on you know, Gixxer 750 or 1000 or even 600, where you just, you know, rev it up to 12,000 and you're still just pulling you down the highway. This guy does run out of steam, but like I said, you have it in sport mode with traction control off. You're typically not going to be bouncing up against the red line on this bike. It's got a lot of torque, and I've never felt that I needed more on this bike. But if you're used to those high revs, you know, there's going to be a bit of an adjustment there for you to get used to this, the characteristics of the parallel twin. Stopping power, it's on par with the Gixxer that I was coming off of. I think I've gone through that before in other videos. So, other quirks. Let's see, you can't start it without pulling in the clutch. And most new bikes today let you do that. I wish this one would let you start it without pulling in the clutch. It's nice when you're first getting on board and getting it warmed up. On board. I saw that flashing light there and I lost my train of thought. Other quirks. The other quirks is changing the ride modes. You can only do it at a stop. You can't do it on the fly. And it doesn't remember the ride mode you're in, so it always defaults back to road mode. So I have no idea where I am. I turned into some neighborhood. What else? So that's kind of a pain, you know. It'd be nice to be able to turn traction control off and change ride modes on the fly as you're going. instead of, oh, I want to go into sport mode, but I have to pull over and stop. That's kind of a pain. A lot of new bikes are coming with keyless start. You know, they just have a fob like a car. You keep it in your pocket. This one still has the key. It's not a big deal, but hey, it'd be nice. You know, this is a 2017. It would have been nice to have a key fob instead of a key. What else? Any other quirks? No other quirks, but you know, long-term review. A lot of people know that the Thruxton comes in two different flavors, the Thruxton Standard and the Thruxton R. The R gives you a bunch of suspension upgrades, tire upgrades, but I also consider that the track kit, I think they call it the racer kit, which includes the fairing and the lower clip-on bars, I could be like a different model. It definitely transforms the bike, not only in looks, but in the way the bike feels. You know, the clip-ons definitely have you below this point, so you're a good 2.5, maybe even 3 inches lower than what you are here. Low enough that I actually had the risers put back on just because I wanted to do some longer videos, motovlogging, and I wanted to get more mileage, so every little bit helps. I think I've mentioned that in other videos. But to me, that's almost like a different model altogether. So anyway, I love the bike. I'd recommend it. Just be prepared for, if you're coming off like a Japanese inline 4 sport bike, it is different. You're going to be familiar with some things, but it is going to have some different characteristics. But I think this bike has a lot of soul. So anyway, I hope that helps, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Click like and subscribe if you like this motovlog, and come back as we take the Thruxton around for a few more spins around Florida. See you next time, guys. Bye now.